Welcome to Gardening with Daddy Pete. Let's join our host, Melvin York.
Well, hello everyone. This is Melvin York, and you're listening to Gardening with Daddy Pete. Here it is, the 25th of January, and it looks like this year's already flying by. We've got so many things to do to get ready for gardening season this year. If you hadn't bought those seeds already, as we talked about earlier, now's a good time to do that. We are stuck in rain here in the Piedmont. Now's a good time to go out and get those supplies for the next few months while they're still on the shelf, while you still got a good choice of all your seeds, all your tools, all your canning supplies. And that's something we're going to talk about today, is preserving your food. Now's the time to go ahead and get whatever you need purchased or rounded up, and make sure it's in good shape. See what you need, make that list, and get that in, because believe it or not, as quick as this month went by, it's going to be time to plant, harvest, and go again. Now, if you listen into our podcast, or if you've missed one, you can go to our website, which is www.daddypetes.com. That's Daddy Petes, DADDYPETES.com, and you can click on our podcast, and they're archived there and titled. And if you missed one, you can just punch on it and you'll get that one. Now, while you're also there, if you have a question or a comment about gardening or our mixes, our soils, or what to use, go ahead and send me an email or leave me a question, and I'll be more than glad to get back to you. And yes, I do answer all of our questions, our emails, and we will get back. If you prefer a phone call, leave me a phone number and a time that's best to contact you, and I'll be more than glad to do that. Also, on our webpage, you can learn a little about us. Our slogan is, "We help you grow." We've been hanging around since 1907, and we're a century plus farm, and it tells a little bit about our journey, where we are, and our mission. And that mission is exactly to produce you a good product and always have the same, and do things like we're doing now, the podcast and all. We really do mean we want to help you grow. We want you to be successful in your growing. Now, preserving. We grow all these vegetables. We have this fruit. We have all these herbs. Maybe we're even growing some chickens. We're growing some cows. We're doing some pigs. But all this goes in together. And one thing I want you to get yourself familiar with, if you're not familiar with it, you will find this in all 50 states, not just here in North Carolina, but we do have a great program here. But the Extension Service, or your Extension office in your county, and everyone should have one, because again, the Extension Service is there for you in all 50 states. Not only is it for the big farmers, but it is for the homeowners too. Believe me, go to that page. You would not realize how much information they have, how much help they give you. We'll walk you through this, and it's absolutely at no cost to you. And that's a service that's there, been there for years. And the Extension Service is usually part of one of the state colleges, and that's the tried and true methods. All your state colleges or your other colleges share their trials or information, and with each and every one, and that makes a great network between the 50 states. So find your local extension office and go on down. And while you're there, tell them what you got in mind. I want to preserve my food. And you'll find that under food safety. There are extension agents there that are qualified to do that, and they'll be more than glad to teach you how. They'll let you know when the classes are available. Again, usually they're cost-free to you. They will do you the right way, because I know the internet's got this one, their YouTube's got this one, and some of those are right. Some of them I don't agree with, but you need to go to the source that's tried and true. And unless you do have a person that has canned for years, like your mom, your grandmother, maybe your aunt, and a lot of men can too also. So maybe you've got somebody that's already been through that and know how to do that. They will share it and walk you through the process, be right there with you. That's great. But there's so many different types, and I'm just going to hit on a few things. I'm trying to get your interest sparked, get you going, point you in the right way. Now, when it comes to preserving a lot of your vegetables and fruits, you can do that by the method of canning. One thing you need to start with, if you decide to can, is there's two ways that you can can. And one is a pressure cooker canning type. Then we have what we call the water bath type, where you put it down into a canner, fill it full of boiling water, and let it boil for so long a time. Like water bath, I think I remember my mom doing green beans for like 3.5 hours, something like that. But again, your extension agent will tell you what to do, or the person that you do know that cans well and has for years can give you that information. Again, let's go back to my journal. Keep that journal, even on your canning, and you will look back and it's going to be something that you will be glad you did at the end of the year and when you start out next year. But canning, you're going to need jars, you're going to need seals, you're going to need the tools to take the jars out of the canners with. So these are different things that you'll need. If you're starting out with a new case of jars, they usually come with the ring or the band or with the seal. Both of those go together and the jar. Now, I do recommend that you stay with a tried and trusted brand name of jars, and that would either be Ball or Kerr. Now, a lot of people call it Carr, but it's Kerr. These are tried and true brands of jars, seals, or a lot of people like to call them lids, and then the band or the ring that holds it down. So that's one of the things that you need to start looking at. Again, what size jar do you want to use? They have the pint jars, they have quart jars, they have smaller jam jars. I think you can still even get the half-gallon jars in places. Still, they have a wide mouth where the mouth of the jar is just as wide all the way down as the jar. Then you've got the regular size jar where the mouth of the jar is a little smaller, where you do take the food, put it in, and take it out. So these are some of the decisions you'll need to make. Again, you can talk to your extension office. You can talk to some people that can. What works best for you? What's best for your family? Do you need more than a pint of green beans at a meal? Is your family big enough to where you need a quart? Maybe you need to do some quarts and pint. Maybe your family's at the stage where you have a gathering where maybe I won't use 2 quarts, but I'll use a quart and a pint. So think about these things as you're buying your jars and getting ready to can. Another thing is make that decision. Do I need to buy a water canner or do I buy a pressure cooker? Again, pressure cookers are something that you need to know how to work, how to run, and you can get that information and that knowledge at your extension office. I know ours here in Iredell County is a great asset. In the neighboring county, Alexander, they do offer some magnificent classes for that. So get in touch with your extension office, go meet your extension agents, and find out what all they offer you as a homeowner or homesteader. Now, while these classes are given, the extension will come out and do them in like garden centers. They'll do them in some hardware stores, and then they actually do the classes at the extension office. So keep your eye out for that, and they will give you a schedule. The next thing you can do is like vacuum sealing some of your vegetables. I know that my wife has taken tomatoes and she would blanch them, and that would be like dropping them in some boiling water, pull it out of the water, and then right into an ice bath, and the skin will peel right off of those. You can lay them out. And she actually did slice them after that, put them and did vacuum sealing and put them straight in the freezer. Beautiful color, great taste. They lasted all winter. So we'll talk about freezing too. I know that one method of corn, we've tried this and done it for years. We take the corn straight out of the patch. You cut the ends off with a sharp knife where you pull the corn from the stalk, that end, just cut it off flat, do the same thing out on your point end, unwrap the first round of husk, and you're ready to put it in a freezer bag and freeze it. And let me tell you something else. That corn will taste like it came straight out of the garden when you take it out of there. If you go to boil that corn like that, it is amazing. Of course, now there's other ways to do it. Again, we're back into canning. You can can corn. And that's just one of the vegetables I'm talking about. There's so many ways to preserve food. And these are some of the choices that you need to learn and the choices you need to make. Not everything can well. Not everything freezes well. Not everything dehydrates well. And that's another form for preserving food is dehydration. Now, they have got some really nice dehydrators out. They've got some inexpensive ones out. But that's one thing that you'll need to know is depending on what you're dehydrating, how long, at what temperature do I dehydrate, say, green beans? Let's just say, okay, I've got some really lean, and you do want to stay on the lean side. Maybe I want to make some jerky beef. You want to make sure the leaner, the better. Because in dehydration, if you're going to save it, like put it in the vacuum sealer like we were talking about, fat seems to go bad the quickest. So, and even though in some of the vegetables like avocados, you want to watch trying to do that because of the fatty type of nature that avocados got. They don't keep as well. So everything has a way to do it. Whether we can, whether we freeze, whether we dehydrate, there's just so many different ways of preserving food, but not all these ways are good for every food. And that's why we have 2 or 3 choices. So figure out what you're going to grow this year. Figure out what you've got as far as fruits or what you're going to put up, and then make the choice. Does that work better frozen? Does that work good dehydrated? Will it work better for me canned? Then there's all the jams, the jellies you can can and put up this year, which will be a great asset to you come wintertime. A lot of people love to make pancakes and then take out some homemade jam or jelly and use that instead of a syrup, which I think is great myself. I'm not a great big pancake eater, but if I'm going to eat pancakes, I would rather have a jam or a jelly over it than I would a syrup most of the time. My preference, but whichever it is yours. These are some of the things you need to look into. And again, we can dehydrate most everything that you grow, or we can freeze a lot that you grow. We can can a lot, or we can vacuum seal and then freeze. The thing is, canned green beans, to me, taste better than frozen green beans. Now, there's frozen green beans that you do at home. You take them and you put them in your freezer and they freeze slower. A lot of the green beans and vegetables you get in the frozen section at the grocery store has a quick freeze, and they seem to do a little better and hold themselves together more when they're being cooked. Frozen green beans tend to fall apart, and it does seem for some reason to have a different taste than what a green bean that's been canned, and you'll find that. Of course, don't forget you've got your beets. A lot of people like to can beets, but that doesn't mean that you can't freeze or dehydrate some beets. This different on and on. Cabbage is one that you can dehydrate. Frozen cabbage, I really don't know how that works. I've seen people do it, but to me it seems a little mushy. But again, there's different ways to do that, and the extension agent will be more than glad to tell you. Well, I hope this has kind of spurred a little something in you so that you'll make some plans now on these rainy days so you'll be ready when your harvest comes in. Don't forget, it's time now to start planting those seeds for transplants. And if you're doing your early crops, they should already be coming up now, but it's not too late. Go to our website, which is daddypete's.com, and look around just a little bit. See what we've got to help you with growing your garden this year, or any other projects you have in your yard. Maybe you've got some mulching to do. We have mulch products for you. Maybe you need some soil, and maybe you need an enrichment or enhancement. We can take care of that. You're planting some new trees, shrubs. You're making raised beds. You're doing some tulip beds. You want to enrich your garden just a little bit more. How about compost tea? We can take care of you there. So look around on our page, see what we got that will help you with your growing needs this year, whether it be your vegetable garden, your herb garden, your fruit trees, fruit bushes, whether it be your landscape around there, your annuals, your perennials, your bulbs, your herbs. We can help you there. Again, as I said at the first of the broadcast, our slogan, our motto, our heart is that we help you grow. And that's exactly what we're going to do. I certainly do appreciate each and every one of you listening and all the questions that I get every week. And please keep them coming in. There is no, a lot of people like to use the word dumb. There is no dumb questions. There is no question that don't deserve to be answered. So please send your questions in. We'll be glad to answer them and help you as much as we can. Well, until next week, I do hope that some of y'all will be out looking for seeds and canning supplies and getting those transplants started. You've been listening to Gardening with Daddy Pete, and I'm your host, Melvin York.
Thank you for joining today's Gardening with Daddy Pete. You can check out our website at daddypetes.com for additional gardening tips and our podcast at gardeningwithdaddypete.podbean.com. You can also join us on Amazon, Apple, or Spotify.